What's up and welcome to the basic mechanics of the Cascade, and it's time for us to go hands-on. Before we go hands-on and get into the meat of the stuff, I'll first start by saying that I strongly recommend for you to get really good at the perfect Pharaoh. It's not a must in the sense that you don't need a perfect weave to just do the Cascade. You could just do it and it'll just look and the Cascade will just be over in no time and look floopy, like and it's just done. Or it's just gonna look pretty clumpy because the Cascade is based on the consistency of the friction and gravity, and if it's just weaved strangely, it'll just be so not very cool, right? You want a Cascade that goes shh. If you can't do the perfect Pharaoh yet, check out the tutorial and then come back here when you can do it well. But of course, you're already watching this, so you're gonna ignore my advice. So let's get on with the tutorial. Now to begin, you need a deck of cards, and I strongly recommend that you use a brand new deck. Why? Well, because the Cascade is based on the friction of the cards and gravity just allowing everything to flow. So if you have a new deck, it's going to be nice, slippery and smooth, and it'll just flow beautifully. If you have a sticky deck, you'll be like, hello, hello, and you don't want that, right? So if you have a deck with you, let's begin. Now, unlike the classic handling of the Cascade, which just involves so many steps, this one just involves 4 steps. So, step 1, weave, step 2, V, step 3, release, and step 4, receive. So that's it, just 4 steps. So let's start with step 1, the weave. For step 1, you're going to execute a perfect Pharaoh. So, split the deck, weave it about a border's width, and that's it. That's step 1. Now for step 2. Now once you have the packets weaved together by the borders, what you're going to start with is rotate your left hand backwards. So like this, the packet goes back and up, and notice as that happens, this V shape opens up between the packets, right? Now what's going to happen is this. Your index finger, which was previously on top of both packets, is going to go in between both packets, gripping everything in a high straddle grip. Now the thing is this, if you have average size hands like me, then when you reach this bit here, you're going to feel like, oh, it's a bit of a stretch, how do I kind of get over there? So what I do is that I let go with my thumb as I reach and grip like that, so that really helps. So in one motion, it's just going to be like that, rotate back, release. Now you've just completed the first half of the transition. For the second half, with your thumb off the packet, you're going to stretch far away from your index finger, exactly in between the intersection. See, this is the V, draw a line, keep your thumb there, and you want it to be as far away from your index finger as possible and maintain a C shape like this. Now what's going to happen from here is that you're going to continue with this motion, and you're going to have your index finger meet your thumb. Now instead of your index finger clashing into your thumb, you're going to slide it out of the way, and your thumb is just going to replace it. So look like this. That's your V shape. Now of course, all this happens in one single motion, right? You're not going to show every single step of your transition. So I'm going to show you the slow-mo breakdown of how it flows, then I'll show it to you in real-time speed. So, slow-mo breakdown time. Goes like that. Boom, weave, stretch as you release with your thumb, get between the intersection in a C shape, rotate back, get index finger out of the way, grip, and you're in the V. Now, how do you do it in real time? It looks like that. Weave, V, and look, ease in which you can control everything, the angle, the height, it's just so easy. Now, one thing about the V as well is that besides the perfect Pharaoh, the size and the shape of this V is what defines the look of your entire Cascade. So let's begin with the size of the V and how that affects your Cascade. Now simply put, if you have a big V, your Cascade is going to last for a longer period of time. You're going to be able to control the speed, the length, everything much better. Now if you have a small V, it kind of looks like that. See? A small V is created when you really weave the cards together like big time, and then you get this teeny tiny V, and then because the cards are so weaved together, they barely have any room to merge and slide and pivot, and you just get this. On the other hand, look, when you have a big V, the cards have more room to pivot and merge and slide, and this allows you to control the speed, the flow, the length, everything. Now we prefer a Cascade that lasts for as long as possible, so what we do is we keep the angle of the V a bit more narrow. Look, the Cascade is made out of 2 bits, right? The pivoting motion of the packets where they merge, and then the falling. When the cards can pivot more, there's a greater range of motion. When there's a greater range of motion, it looks like more is happening. So look, it's something with the Virtuoso deck and adaptive aesthetics. When the cards pivot more, they move more, and the beauty of the Cascade is really brought to a new level. Now here's a simple gauge you can follow. Now what we do is that once we weave the cards together, we use 90 degrees as our midpoint. So look, anything less than 90 degrees, that's a narrow V. And anything more than 90 degrees, that's a wide V. And what we like to do is just keep it a little bit less than 90 degrees. And that's it. Now, to be more precise, this is what I do. I overlap one card with another card like that. And you can see the number, you can see the suit, and this is the Spring Summer Edition deck. Look, this is the kind of space that I use. Now, it's not an exact kind of thing, you don't need to be super precise about it, but just get into this position once, look at it, memorize that feeling, test the cascade out and see how it feels, and over time, as long as you keep it in mind, this will be natural. But yes, a bit longer than the length of a card between your thumb and your pinky. That is your gauge. So remember, you want to keep the V as large as possible and you want to keep it narrow. Now these two steps of the weave, which gets into that V, are essentially your setup. And now you're ready to execute the cascade, which is made up of steps 3 and step 4, which is the release of the cascade and the receiving of the cascade. Now step 3 and 4 essentially happen at the same time. Here's what I mean. Now look, to release the cards, you're going to get your index finger out of the way. But when that happens, the cards start to flow downwards, so you need to catch them with the other hand. So see, the moment they flow, you're receiving them in the other hand. Therefore step 3 and 4 are kind of one big step. Now the real tricky bit isn't so much about releasing the cards with your right hand. The more tricky bit is about how do you catch the cards, especially since they're falling sideways. For example, right, let's say you have your straddle grip, which is this flat cradle grip. It makes sense for something like a spring where everything is flat, but with the cascade, it's sideways. So what happens? You know, do you catch them with your palm and then you just bring your fingers up to catch it? Because I've seen people do that. Or do you catch it with your fingers? So eventually I was like, oh, okay, I guess the only way is to kind of twist my wrist like that and then catch it between my fingers like this. But then, you see the cards are not stacked neatly like a spring. See, in a spring, they kind of go like that. They go and they're just stacked up. But then with the cascade, they're going down sideways like this. So as they fall in this strange, uncomfortable position, where do the cards go to make room for the other cards that are just flowing down like that? You know, the cards just start to clash, they just get really messy, and I'm just trying to catch them sideways and keep everything neat. And then to make matters worse, it was a matter of presentation. You see, when you're performing the cascade, look, in a straddle grip, the moment you rotate, your thumb is kind of here, and look, you're blocking the very flourish you're trying to perform. There had to be another way that was just customized just for the cascade. In my frustration, I developed something called the pistol grip. So here's how the pistol grip works. With your thumb in a cool gun-shaped position, your thumb, your ring finger, and your pinky are the main points of support. They're the main cradly bits. Look, as the cards fall down like that, your ring finger and your pinky support the bottom long side of the deck as your thumb supports the back, right? So they land like that, shing. And then the index finger and the middle finger, which form the barrel of the gun, this supports the rest of the cards as they fall. Now watch, this is how that all works out. As the cards fall down, they're caught here and secured by these 2 points, and then they start tipping sideways and they rest on these fingers here. So as they fall, they tip, they fall, they tip, and every time they fall and tip, they make way for the rest of the cards coming down. Now look, it's really cool because your wrist is in a completely neutral position. Your hands have this secure 2-point position. And then as the cards start falling down rapidly here, these 2 fingers can help to adjust and keep the cards neat, pulling in the cards as they fall. The best part is this, presentation-wise. As the cards fall down, they are never ever blocked by your thumb. So here's how to get into the pistol grip. First, start with a cool gun position like that. Then you want to take your thumb, bring it down so it's on the same level as that barrel there, and then you're going to relax your ring finger and your pinky. So just kind of allow them to straighten a bit, come apart a bit. You can see it's a really loose kind of gun shape, okay? It's not like, it's just really loose. From here, you're going to shoot the gun, and then the gun is going to die. Pow! So there's recoil, and then the gun goes like that. So it goes up and sideways. Why? Here's why. First of all, you want to use gravity to help you secure the cards as they fall. So look, if the gun would just be pointing straight and the cards fell like that, there could be a chance that they fall forward into the front. So you want to use gravity as your friend and your thumb as a back cradle like this. So when it's up, the cards fall, and look, they will always fall backwards towards your thumb and never forwards towards the floor. Next, your hand is sideways like that because that naturally allows the cards to tip as they fall. So if it's like this, then they might clash with the rest of the cards coming down. But if they're tilted like this, they do that and they naturally tip to the side, allowing the stream of the cascade to cleanly complete. So remember, loose gun shape, shoot the gun, kill the gun. That's it. Now to fine tune it with an actual deck in your hand. Grab a deck and it's time to load the pistol. Now here's how we do it. The main thing about fine tuning the grip is just the slight adjustments in the finger. Now look, you want to make sure that your ring finger and your pinky is contacting the bottom of the deck, the long side down here. As long as your thumb's at the back, just chilling, and these two fingers are just supporting the deck, it's all good. Now here's what has happened. When you remove this, you realize that your ring finger and pinky are now on that same level. They're the same plane like that. You see, just now when you were just trying to do the pistol grip, your ring finger will probably be above the pinky like that. Now after fine tuning, it should be lowered and slightly behind the pinky like this. This is the position you want to remember and quickly get into so you can just perform the cascade, okay? Once you get used to just getting to that position, then you're good to go. But of course you don't want to go like, I'm going to show you the cascade, give me a second, okay. And then you try to do the cascade. No, okay? Get used to that feeling and just go straight into that fine-tuned pistol grip. And remember, once you fine-tune the position of your fingers, you still want to do the whole shoot the gun, kill the gun thing to keep everything nice, flowing and secure. Now, you're finally ready to execute the release of the cascade. And the funny thing is that even though this is actually the easiest bit of the whole cascade, here's where most people freak out. So here's why they kind of freak out, right? They get into the cascade position, then they want to release the cards, but then they don't know how to control the speed. So it goes like, whoa! And so there's no control, and then the cards start rushing into the other hand, and they're like, oh crap, how do I catch it? Well, what happens is that they think to themselves, just now I removed my index finger, which caused the cards to just flow. Maybe if I put my index finger back there, I can control the speed of the flow, right? Seems like sound logic. But then this happens. It goes like, oh. The problem is that you bring your index finger back, the cards start to clash, and then it just looks like this weird, abrupt kind of cascade. When in actual fact, what you're really going for is a beautiful flow. You're not really trying to stop the flow of the cascade, you're trying to control the rate of which the cards flow. So the truth is this: your index finger has nothing to do with controlling the way, the speed, the way the cascade flows. Nothing. What really affects it is the angle of your hand. Here's what I mean. See, if I hold the cards like this diagonally, they're almost stacked on top of one another, which increases the friction between the cards. That means they flow slowly. Look. Slowly. So what happens if I do it vertically? I hold my hand in a really vertical angle like this. It goes like that. Super fast. In other words, it's all a matter of doing this or this. No, this. So remember, your index finger does nothing. The moment you let go of the cards, it gets out of the way. Keep it straight, keep it back, and just allow the cards to rest on it. It's just a support. From there, you're just playing around with the angle of the cards that you like that gives you the speed and flow of the cascade according to your style and preferences. Now what I like to do is I begin more diagonal at first. So one of two things most of the time. I hold it there and I just have a nice sustained cascade all the way. It just goes shh. Another way is to change the speed. So I begin diagonal, and as the cards flow and I get that stability that I like, I start tilting my hand forward. So it goes slow and goes shh. So like that. Start slow, and then it goes faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster all the way to the end. So it's really up to you how you want to present it. You want to be slow all the way, slow and speed up, or fast all the way. It's up to you and how you like to style it. But remember, it's not your index finger, it's the way you tilt the packets. Now with all that in mind, it can still be pretty daunting to catch a cascade for the very first time. So if you're first starting out, the biggest tip I can give you is to always start small. And by start small, I don't even mean like, oh, hold it like that and let it bounce and drop into the other hand. No, I mean keep it extremely connected to the point where the moment you release the cards, they're caught in the other hand, like that. So here, my hand is right in front of the other hand and I allow it to flow in there. And look, it's so connected that I'm always aware of how the cards flow, where they're going, and how they're caught in the other hand. Only then, when I get really comfortable with everything, only then do I slowly extend the length of the cascade. Now the only thing you need to know how to do now is how do you close the cascade? And well, it might seem pretty straightforward, right? Because doesn't the cascade kind of just flow to a close? It does, but look, you end up in pistol grip, which means you need to transition back to a straddle grip. That allows you to do other card flourishes or just come to a complete close. So from here, all you have to do is, number 1, square it up like that. Number 2, leave your index finger and your thumb there as your other fingers get out of the way, and you can just shift back easily to a straddle grip. And that's it, super simple. So to recap, remember there's just 4 main steps to your cascade. There's the weave, the V, the release, and the catch. And remember that when you weave the cards together, you start with a perfect ferrule, which allows and gives that cascade that nice smooth consistency. The V, you want to keep it narrow, allowing the cards to pivot more and to flow smoothly downwards. Remember, the space between it must allow cards to flow through, not too wide, but just enough space so that the cards don't clash. When you release the cards, you get your index finger out of the way, and you want to receive everything in a nice, neat pistol grip, which you can fine-tune by putting the deck there first. Now when it comes to the pistol grip, make sure that you keep it in this position where it's shot, boom, then it dies, because you want everything to be supported by the thumb, and you want the cards to kind of hit your hand, tilt, and get out of the way for the rest of the cards flowing down. Remember, the speed and the flow of your cascade is adjusted by the angle of your hand, and never start your cascade long because the cards will just bounce. Always start connected and go shh. And if need be, you can always neaten the flow of the cards with these 2 fingers. And finally, when they land in your hand in pistol grip, just squeeze it to square it, get these fingers back into straddle grip, and you're done. So that's it for the basic mechanics of the cascade. Well, I'll see you in the next video.